I, 43F, have 2 children. Sarah 17F and Aiden 15 male. 9 years ago, my late husband passed away in a fatal car crash. I was devastated. I was afraid for my kids to grow up without a father, and I was afraid to be alone. Luckily, my family stepped up. My brother-in-law acted as a surrogate father for my kids. My sister and Bill do not have kids of their own, but were happy to help us out. 5 years ago, I met my now husband 47 meters and his daughter, Elizabeth 17F, at a friend's housewarming party. I was hesitant to date again, but I took things slow, making sure he was a good man to be around my kids. I discussed my kids' feelings with them along every important milestone and made sure they were comfortable with my husband and stepdaughter. When he proposed, and I spoke to my kids about how they felt, only one request, the promise, was made. I would make sure that my kids and I had time together, just the 3 of us still. I agreed to take my children out twice a month, just the 3 of us, with exceptions if need be. As my kids remember their father, and Elizabeth's mother was still in her life, we made a rule that neither of us would try to be parents to our stepkids. We are responsible for our bio kids. This was discussed with all the children together. Our kids are also allowed to choose how they feel about one another, whether or not they wished for a sibling relationship or something else. It's not up for my husband and I to decide. Back to present time, I still regularly take my kids out twice a month for an adventure with the 3 of us. This could be going out to dinner, a movie, the zoo, etc. I also take Elizabeth with me for some things, such as getting our nails done, shopping, volunteering. Sometimes my kids will come along as well. My husband and I are still responsible for our own kids. We parent them differently, but that's what is causing the problems. We are each in charge of grades, party planning, rewards, punishment, special parent-child time, chore lists, curfews/rules. The issue is, I am far more active in my kids' lives than my husband is. I regularly celebrate my children, go to all their events, keep on top of their grades. I know where my kids are, I listen to their concerns, and speak about their lives. My husband doesn't do those things for my stepdaughter. I think I underestimated how much this is creating tension between our kids. Elizabeth and Aiden don't interact with one another. Elizabeth and Sarah absolutely despise one another. Sarah and Aiden are best friends. My husband came to me yesterday and said we needed to talk about how Sarah and Aiden, mostly Sarah, treat Elizabeth. He pointed out several instances of exclusionary behavior. Such as, Sarah driving Aiden around but not Elizabeth. Sarah and Aiden deciding to have the 2 bedrooms across the house from Sarah. Originally Aiden and Elizabeth would have had them, Sarah not inviting Elizabeth on her birthday trip to Cedar Point despite them having the same friend group. Sarah spending money buying Aiden gifts but not Elizabeth. Aiden refusing to allow Elizabeth to use his technology. Sarah and Aiden only doing things Elizabeth doesn't enjoy while at home or stopping when Elizabeth wants to join. Aiden refusing to cook for Elizabeth. Sarah buying all 3 of them locks for their bedroom doors, which my husband claims was only to make it look like Sarah did something nice for Elizabeth. My husband claimed that I was the cause of this problem by setting the example of excluding Elizabeth with the promise I made to my kids. He demands that I stop the practice and start to treat Elizabeth like my own kid. I said no, as that is not part of our agreement. Elizabeth isn't the one asking me, he isn't willing to step up and act as a father to my kids, and my children come first. I will always make them feel valued. I'm the only one who ever plans anything for the kids. Since we've bought a house together, he has only planned birthday parties for Elizabeth. Nothing else. He doesn't plan family trips, dinners, celebratory events, none of that. I know he won't put in any effort for my kids as he barely does for his own. When I brought this up to him in the past, he said it's not my problem and reminds me of our agreement. Oh, and since I didn't add it in, I'm going to speak to both of my kids separately and then together to get to the bottom of their behavior. Update 1. 1. Aiden is a boy. I accidentally wrote 15F, but I fixed that. My mistake. 2. Both my husband and I were unaware of the dynamic in our household. We both work long hours during the week and don't spend much time together at home. For context, my work schedule is 8 to 6 Monday to Thursday. I have Fridays and Sundays off, and the option to come in on Saturdays when I wish to. My kids and I go to sleep around 8 to 9, Elizabeth stays up a little later, and my husband goes to sleep around 7. He works 12-hour shifts from 6 to 6 every day and wakes up for work around 5. He also has Fridays and Sundays off. I usually plan for the weekends on Monday, which we typically are out of the house for. We as in me, always, my kids, stepdaughter, and hubby. 3. I do spend time with my stepdaughter, as stated in the previous post. 4. My husband and Elizabeth have different ideas of spending time together. For me and my kids, it's getting out of the house. For those 2, it's staying home, playing board games or watching a movie. This activity started because my husband wasn't in a good financial situation post-divorce and he couldn't afford to take her out often. So they did spend a lot of time together. 5. Elizabeth's mother, Bailey, is in jail and has been for 5 months. She committed a small crime and was sentenced to a year. She keeps in contact with Elizabeth via phone calls, letters, and visitation. Saturdays are usually spent now with me and Elizabeth going to visit Bailey, unless I need to work. Her father doesn't bring her. 6. My kids and Elizabeth did get along. The exclusion doesn't happen during family trips or when I'm around. 7. Sarah has a car but Elizabeth doesn't, though she has a license. Sarah has been working since she was 15 and I agreed that I would pay half plus insurance, while Sarah pays the other half plus gas. 8. Aiden was also not on the Cedar Point trip. I paid for most of the cost but Sarah helped and a lot of the other girls' parents plus kids chipped in as well. 9. I am more strict with my kids than my husband is with Elizabeth. They have a curfew, great expectations, safety regulations, etc. I think that's it, but I might add some if I think of anything else. I am also going to address the previous points. These are not justifications, just how I see them along with more clarification. Sarah driving Aiden around but not Elizabeth. Aiden does not have a license and has multiple outside activities. Elizabeth drives either mine or my husband's car. Sarah and Aiden deciding to have the 2 bedrooms across the house from Sarah. Originally Aiden and Elizabeth would have had them. Our house has 2 master bedrooms and 2 regular bedrooms. Sarah was going to have one of the masters, but she insisted Elizabeth take it, her reasoning being she won't have to share a bathroom with her stepbrother. The 2 masters are on the main floor, the regular rooms are on the second floor. Literally just a hallway with bedrooms and a bathroom. Sarah not inviting Elizabeth on her birthday trip to Cedar Point despite them having the same friend group. Said in point 8 Sarah spending money buying Aiden gifts but not Elizabeth. I don't see a problem with this. Sarah earns her own money, she can spend it as she pleases. Aiden refusing to allow Elizabeth to use his technology. He and Sarah are both gamers but Aiden is 10x more invested in it than Sarah. Sarah and Aiden only doing things Elizabeth doesn't enjoy while at home or stopping when Elizabeth wants to join. Not sure but defo not okay. Aiden refusing to cook for Elizabeth. Aiden cooked a lot as a kid and developed a passion for it. He cooks dinner for the entire fam, including Elizabeth, and will cook separate things on Sarah's request, like lunch or breakfast, and she will also buy him ingredients for new recipes either of them wish to try. Sarah buying all 3 of them locks for their bedroom doors, which my husband claims was only to make it look like Sarah did something nice for Elizabeth. This one I also see no issue with. Privacy is important and all 3 install their locks. Update 2. I spoke with all 3 kids last night separately and told them all to write a list of things they want to address in today's family meeting. I found out a lot that absolutely shocked me when I spoke privately. For the family meeting, we all sat down in the living room. I asked Elizabeth to speak first, since she is the one who is upset and without explanation for her behavior. She reiterated the statements above, and added some things on her list. Elizabeth's list: movie nights upstairs without her, refusing to drive her to school/leaving without her. Refusing to even attempt a sibling relationship with her. Putting locks on their doors and using the bathroom to be able to visit each other/hang out. Gaming without her. Elizabeth said she felt as if they hated her and wanted her gone. She said she is just as worthy of a parent as Sarah and Aiden were, and how it's unfair that we get to be a family and she doesn't have one. Sarah, very rudely, asked if she honestly felt she has any less of a family than she and Aiden do. Elizabeth was going to say something else, but my husband stepped in and asked Sarah to read her list. Though Sarah told me last night about what Elizabeth had been doing, I didn't expect how blunty she would bring it up. Sarah's list: breaking into their bedrooms and stealing their stuff/food. Insisting on sharing clothes/matching. Insisting on a sibling relationship when already declined by both. Following her around school and forcing herself into Sarah's friend group despite being told multiple times to leave them alone. Threatening to go to teachers/me and hubby if they didn't. Stealing and then ruining Sarah's makeup. Telling my kids they should be happy their father died because now they have her dad and a sister. Making inappropriate comments towards anime characters out loud while watching together, this includes minors, insisting Aiden has a crush on her. Getting handset with Aiden and then getting defensive when Sarah intervenes/calls her out for doing so. This is the real reason Sarah insisted on the bedroom situation, purchasing 2 fun items and giving one to Sarah after she confessed to a crush on TV. Throwing a fit whenever she loses in a game or any form of competition. Refuses to study/spend time on school and then complaining when she doesn't get good grades. Expecting me to step up and do everything for her, even though I do not do those things for even my own kids, instead of her father. Constantly being late getting ready for school and then being upset they don't wait for her. Flirting with Sarah's boyfriend at the time because sisters share everything. Refusing to get a job or do anything worthwhile while being jealous of both kids' accomplishments. When she was done, I asked Aiden if Elizabeth was really trying to touch him. He didn't answer at first, but after a moment said yes. Elizabeth denied it immediately, but Sarah shut her down and said she wasn't finished speaking. Sarah told Elizabeth that she was a disgusting human being, that she thinks she can get away with anything she wants but she can't. None of their friends like her and wouldn't be around her if Elizabeth didn't make them. That she was spoiled and entitled. That if she ever tried to do anything with her brother, Sarah and everyone else would make her life living hell. I stopped Sarah there, as I don't tolerate threats of violence. Elizabeth said it's not fair, that she and Sarah have similar interests, and that she's only treated worse because she's ugly and Sarah isn't. When you do it, it's cool. When I do it, It's trashy and weird. Sarah argued back, saying it doesn't have anything to do with her looks, she's just a bad person. Elizabeth brought up how Sarah is the bad one, purposefully excluding her, spending time with me separately, refusing to acknowledge her in the house she lives in, refusing to accept her and her father as family, that they both lost a parent. Sarah, my dad is dead. He's never coming back. Your mom is in jail. You speak with her daily. See her every week. It's not the same at all. Elizabeth, it is the same. I share my dad, you're just bitching that you have to share your mom now. Sarah, at least my dad didn't choose to leave me. Your mom had a choice and I can see why she chose it. Elizabeth slapped Sarah. Aiden punched Elizabeth. Husband shoved Aiden into a mirror hung on the wall. I started screaming at my husband to keep his hands off of my children while telling my kids to go pack a bag. Kids ran off, Elizabeth followed them, husband and I were screaming at each other. I could hear Elizabeth pounding on their doors and crying. After a lot of yelling my husband slapped me, then Sarah started screaming at Elizabeth. Apparently Aiden was putting the bags in the car, and the girls disappeared. I found them in my bedroom fighting because Sarah was packing a bag for me. I told Sarah to go wait in the car while I pack. She hesitantly obeyed. I packed my bag while husband and Elizabeth were screaming at me, then left. Sarah was on the curb in the driver's seat, so I let her drive away and then told her to switch with me. My son had to be taken to the hospital as the mirror had cut him. Aiden needed 17 stitches and has a concussion. I am pressing charges against my husband and filing for separation and divorce immediately. I'm currently writing this from our hotel room. I spoke to Sarah and asked why she didn't bring any of this up previously. She told me that Elizabeth only started acting like that after husband had already proposed, and both she and Aiden wanted me to be happy, because they'd seen how depressed I was after my late husband died. This obviously broke my heart. I told her, and later Aiden, that they are my happiness. Sarah argued and said that since I'd made so many sacrifices it's only fair that they did too. I promised her that she never needs to sacrifice anything for me, as I am their mother. Sarah started crying, apologizing and just saying how she never meant for me to lose another husband and that she never would have let Aiden get hurt. I kept reassuring her the whole ride to our hotel. My kids are asleep now. I'm scared. Neither husband nor Elizabeth has contacted me. I'm not sure if I want them to. Now on to second story. Found out my girlfriend was secretly texting her annoying ex-boyfriend, pretending to hate him while talking as if they're best friends. I, 27 male, am unsure what to do about my girlfriend M, 26. Some backstory. I met M 3 years ago at a store. We hit it off immediately. We spent all our spare time hanging out together, and then 2 months later we started dating. Before we started dating, she told me of her past relationship. Her boyfriend during their relationship was verbally, emotionally and sometimes physically abusive. She broke up with him after 3 years together. I met her roughly 2 years after the breakup. She knows I hate his guts, that I think of him as despicable, and I'm glad that this fucker lives 17 hours away. While they were together, M had made a bond with X's child. When we talked about this, I initially understood her feelings toward his child, having practically raised them, and supported her wanting to stay in contact. Her ex soon decided to cut her off shortly after we started dating. Nothing was heard from either of them for 4 months. Then the harassment came. He would blow up her phone with sexist jokes, saying how bad of a person she was, how he knows that she'd fuck up her current relationship, the list goes on. I told her that this was unacceptable and to block him. She agreed and did so right then. Now we come to the present. We were in bed, and I will say that she has me check her phone if it goes off in case it's her parents, as they're getting up there in age and we help out at their house quite often. It goes off, I check it. And it's him. I shouldn't have, but I check the message, and it opens the whole conversation. And they're chatting as if they're good friends. I'm confused. I've lost count how many times she's told me she hates him and doesn't want to talk to him ever again. The latest being Saturday. But this has apparently been going on for at least a month, and I'm shocked that she hasn't told me, when she had when he tried to contact her last year. I didn't say anything as I didn't want to start the conversation at the time. She tried to hide it from me later when he texted again, seeing the notification and quickly scrolling past it when showing me something. I confronted her about it and she said that he's just talking to me about his kid when there was no mentioning of him at all. I feel bad for intruding, but to see that going on. Am I just insecure? Update 1. In short detail, we broke up. I decided to have a sit down with my GF. I asked her why she was really texting her ex. She said that she needed someone to talk to about life and vent, and apparently he's a better choice for that than I. I also was shown all of the messages. She didn't bother trying to delete anything as it would show that it had been. But he was clearly trying to drag her back or break apart our relationship. Subtle flirting and even some knight in shining armor BS. She told him she thinks I cheated in the past with my former boss, Becca. Yes, I sent her and my manager memes and often helped her and her wife with projects to make extra money while they prepared to sell their house. I read multiple messages from him on how he would have beaten me to pulp if he was still in town, how he was so upset that he put holes in his wall. The cheesy shit. How he would never cheat on her. He cheated twice. I hope y'all can see he's also a narcissist. And insisting that me helping them out was suspicious, as it was only during the weekend I would do this. Even though I always sent her pictures of the work I did, receipts for the supplies, even footage of me working from their home cameras they have for their 3 dogs. And there was never a question asked to me about what I was doing over there aside from what time I expected to be finished, and was normally done on time or early. Oh, and I didn't mention that she didn't tell him we had gotten it sorted out, that I had never in fact cheated. She didn't tell him anything to dissuade him or diffuse the situation after he had threatened me like that. Nothing. Whether she thought it was serious or not. I was very upset by what I read. I felt like I had no value to her, that I wasn't trusted. No matter what I did for her, it seemed that I wasn't enough. I pressed her. I told her she has 2 options. She cuts him off and we go to therapy, or she can continue to have her chats with him and I walk away. Honestly, I should have just ended it myself, but I was curious as to what she would do. But it's over. She refused to cut him off, saying her only chance to talk to his child again is by talking to him. I told her if that a child that isn't even hers and a man who abused her is all she really cares about, then good luck with that. Grabbed my stuff, and left. Rude? Yeah, I let my emotions get a hold of me. I called her parents, and ended up telling them we've split. They're great people. They told me they're sorry that things turned out the way they did. They've even invited me tea for dinner Friday, just me and them, so I can get some of my tools I've loaned them and to talk more about this. I thought about declining their offer to dinner, but her mom is too sweet for her own good. And her dad and I always have a blast having a drink together. So I'm going Friday. I've doubled down on my decision. And knowing them, they probably won't press me to try to make it work. After all this, I'm going to treat myself to a nice bottle of sake I've been saving in my fridge and just relax. Update 2. M has tried contacting me nonstop, from calling to messaging me on SM. Begging me to talk with her and work things out. I replied only once, saying that I gave her a chance to work this out, to compromise and go to therapy together. Only for her to refuse and choose her ex and child over me. Apparently yesterday he cut contact with her, blocking her on everything, and honestly, I saw it coming. But he'll probably do it all over again when she finds a new guy. She's a wreck, and I pity her somewhat, but she's made her bed and it's time for her to lay in it. I told her that there will be no second chance, that I was finished the moment she made her values clear, and again suggested she get therapy. I wished her the best and then deleted her off my phone and anything else she was on. I went out to dinner with her parents last night, and it was actually a good time with them. Her parents were kind yet to the point. Her parents told me not to mince words or leave bits out and just tell them exactly what had been going on. I tried to tell them that while I respect them, that I did not want to drag them into our relationship problems and wanted there to be no issues with them and their daughter. Well, her dad told me they had already had a long talk with them, and regardless, wanted to hear my input. So we talked. I told them about her ex and kid, his threats, him trying to break up our relationship. Well, I guess you can say he did now. Her lying and hiding his messages. I told them I gave the choice and what she chose. I insisted to them that they take her to seek professional help, that if she keeps this up she's going to tear herself up, and any future relationship. I want her to be happy someday, but it just won't be with me. I'm tired of the lies and deceit. I just want to move forward and live my life. And I hope she can do the same. Their response was not exactly what I expected. They apologized to me for her actions, that they were disappointed that things turned out as they had, but supported my decision to walk away from her. I won't lie, I had expected them to ask me to talk to M, and try to move past it. But there was not even an inkling to that. Her mom came and gave me a hug, but her dad just seemed dejected. I'd never seen this man look this way, and it felt like a punch to the gut. It hurt seeing him like that, knowing there was nothing I could do. We ended up just sitting there in silence for a minute before he decided to order a round of shots. A round turned into 2, and that seemed to help relax everyone as we started chatting about my future plans, their retirement, goals and hopes. We were out for 3 hours. Chatting as if we were just normal people. I had a great time. Even while it hurt, we cried a few times. We also laughed, and remembered past times when we'd make a fool out of ourselves. When we were about to part ways, her dad gave me a bone-crushing handshake, and a hug which her mom ended up joining in. This man has never hugged me, so I was really caught by surprise. They told me to take care of myself, eat healthy, don't sink yourself in alcohol, and just focus on getting through the days. They're going to look at options for therapy for M, and recommended that I do the same. Which I think I'll do. They handed me a bag with my tools, said they're going to miss me, but wished me the best. I gave them my goodbyes and we parted ways. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted, both off my chest and my shoulders. I decided I'm taking a break from dating. One day I'll find someone. But that's all in the back of the mind. To others who may be going through similar situations, talk to your partners. If you've only talked about going to therapy, schedule a session. If not for you both, do it for yourself. Do not sacrifice your mental nor physical health for the sake of a relationship. If it's not healthy, and attempts of improving your relationship fails, walk away. I know for many it's not that simple, but when will enough really be enough for you?